Bowls. They'd like to win another one. They're going to have to get past the Rams to do it, to help their seeding out, to maintain their lead in the NFC. That's the last game on Saturday. Then Bills before that going to Foxborough. The Buccaneers host the Texans. It's all right here. Triple the action, triple the touchdowns, triple the just awesome football play.
Talk about it.
You talk about it.
This is football Christmas.
Is
this is the one. Saturday, and then you got the game. Sunday, you don't miss this.
And Monday.
Everybody, break the remote. Take your remote control and break it. You don't need it. That's all you need.
Break the remote.
Stocking stuffer, a new remote after this weekend. That's it. I got gift ideas.
Really disappointing loss last week for those Niners, but they're at home Saturday against the Rams. They're playing to keep their slim playoff chances alive. How do you see the Niners bouncing back after a heartbreaker last week?
Yeah, they have to bounce back. I see them responding in a really good way. To me, the difference in the back half, or at least after week 10 in this Niners team, the offense still scoring points. They were scoring 29 points in the first 9 weeks. The last 4 or 5 weeks, they're scoring 30. It's the front seven. It's the defense. Sacks have been down. The pass rush hadn't been where they were earlier in the season. And to me, it just seems like as the season goes on, teams that hadn't won a lot before in their past, you know what I mean? They're just dealing with going through a long season, and you have some slip-ups. I do think this 49er team will bounce back. Kyle Shanahan, this offense will get better, will continue to score points, but this defense and this front seven, specifically the pass rush, this defensive line, Nick Bosa and those guys, they have to get the motor going.
I covered that Ravens-49ers game earlier this year, and I was talking to some 49ers folks about Earl Thomas with the Ravens, and I said, he got in the face of a couple of guys, particularly Brandon Williams earlier this year, saying, "Are you hurt? We needed you out there today, the day that he didn't play." And all of a sudden that team and that defense responded to that. And they said, "Oh, that kind of sounds like Richard Sherman for us when Sherman came here last year and started to set the tone." Who's coming back for the 49ers?
Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman is coming back for the 49ers and playing through a hamstring injury that should have been a multi-week deal. So it looks like he's going to miss only one game here. And you know that he is setting the tone and sending the message to the team about bouncing back after that
How
disappointment.
big of a deal is he?
Well, he's a very big deal. First of all, he's a playmaker at the quarterback position, as you can see what's happening on the screen right there. He's not a guy that just swats passes down. He's the guy that takes the ball from the opposing offense. That's what makes Richard Sherman special, and he communicates on that back end. Without him communicating on the back end, this pass defense isn't as good as we're accustomed to seeing it. So, yeah, Richard Sherman is very, very important to this back end, and to know that he's playing this week means I don't think they're going to play a lot of man. This defense doesn't play a lot of man, but to see Richard Sherman come back, it says that the game plan is a little bit more.
Love that. Thanks.
You know Sherman well, and he makes a big difference. But he's a corner. There's only so much he can do. There's this image that sticks out to me from this past weekend where the Niners lose to the Falcons, and I'm watching the Sunday night show, and I think Tirico posed the question, like, guys, are we worried about the Niners? And, like, every single person said, no, they'll be fine. And it was Dungy and Rodney and Sims and all guys I respected. No problem, no problem. Is it? You know that over the last 6 weeks, they're a 500 team. Yeah. Do you know that they lost their center and against Atlanta had their lowest rushing total in weeks? Like, we see teams peak in October and November, and I don't blame them because the injuries are really messing them up. It's not just Sherman, but, like, it's a very losable game to the Rams, and if they lose this one, then they've lost 4 of 7 games, and they're limping into the playoffs. I am concerned. I am.
And I think there are legit concerns. I will say they had a heartbreaking loss to the Ravens. How did they bounce back from that?
They hammered them
to the Dome, and they beat New Orleans. That's how they bounce back. That's how they galvanize. You add the Richard Sherman thing. You also add, and you've talked about this more than anybody, the 2 coaches. You have this idea that these Niners, they haven't been talked about. It's been the Sean McVay show. It's been, whatever. We're rebuilding. We're dealing with what we're dealing with up in the Bay Area. Well, they don't, like, what better way to shut that conversation up in the NFC West than to decisively, dominantly beat a Rams squad on a Saturday night?
They go against him, and then they go against Pete the next week.
It's like an emotional thing with them and the Rams.
It's just, don't you feel in the NFC like they're very good? But being very good in these NFC playoffs will get you one and done. Like, the teams are too good. Like, they're loaded there. So, like, they got to get it turned around and against their 2 biggest rivals, like, now.
We'll see how it works out. It's the matchup that could decide the NFC East. Another one we'll talk about, that one on Sunday. Will Dak be ready to go? And if he's not 100%, they should still win.